To go ahead and get started. Let me just kick it off by introducing the OptiQly team on the line today. I'm Susan Rosala, the head of sales here at OptiQly. On the line also is Jess Johns, who's our head of marketing, and Pete McCarthy, who's our head of product. You'll be hearing the most from Pete today as he walks you through the OptiQly platform and the extension.
Good morning, everybody.
Okay, just a few bits of housekeeping and agenda setting before we kick it off and dive right into the platform. So today's webinar is going to be about a half an hour. We may go a few minutes over if folks have questions or comments, which we definitely hope that you do. You're all, since this is a pretty large group, everyone is on mute. So I encourage you to use the chat bubble at the top of your screen to type in questions at any time. We'll try to answer them as we go and make this as conversational as we can with this many folks on the line virtually. Okay. So from an agenda perspective, we're going to cover just a few things. The first thing is just a basic overview of the OQ platform. So we'll look at how we've structured OptiQly, so how you can access the data through our Chrome extension and through the web platform. We'll look at basic scoring elements and explain some of those to you and just give you a quick overview of how OptiQly has been built. We'll jump right into some use cases for marketers. We've been hearing from tons of you so far about specific title campaigns or titles that you've been tracking through OptiQly. And we're going to really cover why, when, and which titles to track. We're then going to jump into using the list view. So what does OptiQly look like when you're tracking a large number of titles? And how can you use sorting to find problems, surface opportunities, and prioritize which titles to work on when? We'll look at a specific title or two. I'm not sure what Pete's got in store today, but to look at dive into a little bit of detail on specific scores and, of course, how to use the trending data that you'll start to see as you're tracking titles. We'll spend some time on our recommended insights and actions and what you can do when OptiQly is recommending a specific action. And then finally, we'll talk just a little bit about getting started with OptiQly once our trial period has ended. Okay, Pete, do you want to click to the next slide? Okay. Just a quick note on where we are now. So we're in the middle of a trial period of OptiQly, which is going all the way through the end of August, after which all of the free accounts that you're using now will be disabled. However, during this period, we encourage you to add as many titles as you'd like. This is absolutely the time to track different editions of titles, track your competitors' titles, track your front list, track your back list, as much as you can. And it's also the time for you to give us as much feedback as you'd like to. So we've already heard from so many people during this trial period, which has been fantastic. We've had some bug reporting, which we've been able to jump on. Our engineers, have been able to respond to certain bugs that we've uncovered. We've also been able to add or sort of finesse some features based on your feedback. And we've also heard some really good feedback about how you're using OptiQly for specific titles. So there's a couple of different ways that you can submit feedback to us. And you can do that at any time, even if it's just a quick thought that you have or a question. Please feel free to email us to submit a comment via the help menu on the platform itself. I hope you all have been using and accessing our knowledge base. And we'll also be sending you a survey in the next week or so, which we'd really appreciate if you would take the time to fill out. We'll keep it very short, we promise. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Pete now for the demo. and please keep the questions coming. Thanks so much.
Great, thanks, Susan. I am sharing my whole screen, so just give me 1 second here. All right. So I want to start by just saying, just echoing what Susan said, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today, and also for your feedback and your early use of the platform. It's invaluable to us to hear your use cases, hear what you're doing with it, where you're having trouble, where you're finding delight, all those different things. So I want to do a few things today. And one of the key things I want to do is leave enough time for questions. So I am going to go fairly rapidly, but you can, Jess, are they texting you? Are they messaging you with questions? Yeah.
Yeah.
So they
message OptiQly support in the chat window.
So yeah, in the chat window for Join Me, if you message OptiQly support, those questions come to us. And I had some questions come in from folks in the pre-registration process as well, which I'll respond to as I go along. Actually, I'll start by responding to one that I found very interesting, which was, I'm catching the gist of the question, which was, do we have plans to offer OptiQly for other retailers beyond Amazon? So giving you these kinds of insights, this sort of data for other retailers. And the answer there is we don't preclude that at all. In fact, it'd be a very nice thing to be able to do. The biggest use case that we were trying to solve was one in which people told us, I want to understand Amazon better. I want to do things better at Amazon. I want to do more for my authors and my books. I want to reach people through that channel. So we started there. And actually, we're listening to our customers on this and taking their lead. And the first things that we're hearing from folks are that they want us to support Amazon internationally. So that's in all likelihood on the roadmap with no definitive time at this point. But other retailers are not off the table. That's the answer to that question. Most of the other ones are about actually using the platform, but that was a little bit more about the company. So I want to start out with our free Chrome extension. I think it's a nice way to explain what OptiQly is and how it works. So I'm going to show you the free Chrome extension. Cool thing about the extension, in addition to it being free, is that it works on any book or ebook, Kindle book on Amazon.com. So, it doesn't care what you're looking at. It does not need to be one of your books, in quotes. So whether you're the publisher, the marketer, a freelance marketer, the agent, you can look at any book at all. So it could be a competitor, or it could just be a book you're curious about. So I'm curious about Thich Nhat Hanh today, apparently. And so there it is. So what OptiQly does, in a nutshell, is we roll out 50 plus data sources from across the web. Many of them are from Amazon, but please bear in mind that we do many more bits of data aggregation than simply Amazon. We really like to look at the entire marketing funnel. That's what we're trying to visualize for folks. So the OptiQly score, sort of, I get the question sometimes, what is it? It is a 0 to 100 score, and it's how optimized is this product detail page right now when you're looking at the extension. So the extension is snapshot in time. Right now, how optimized is this product detail page for discovery and likely conversion? It's a scale from 0 to 100, and it's logarithmic. So the lower you are, the easier it is to sort of increment upward. So if you're a 20, to get to a 27, a few things need to happen. If you're a 92, to get to a 93, a lot needs to happen. And so that's basically that score. We separate the score out into what we call product authority, which is the book or the title, actually in this case, the ISBN, and the brand, which in this case is the author. So these can be interpreted as how much is this product contributing to the detail page optimization, and how much is the author contributing to this detail page's optimization. So in this case, Thich Nhat Hanh's brand is the stronger of the two drivers according to our algorithm than is this specific product. So walking up the funnel. So we start at the bottom. So we're starting at on page. On page in the OptiQly lexicon is the product detail page, and it's really, to sort of bastardize it a little bit, it's the metadata, roughly speaking. And so we're looking at the key elements that Amazon takes into consideration when they're worrying about what to merchandise. And we're saying green, yellow, or red. So it's classic sort of stoplight methodology. Greens are positive, reds are definitely negatives. Yellows, you have the opportunity to hit the gas or the brakes. So those can be, they're basically neutral and open for interpretation on whether there's room for improvement or everything's just fine, or hey, this looks really promising, maybe there's something I can do. So yellows aren't bad. I just want to get that out of the way. Throughout, just so you know, we have this methodology of help. So when you're rolling over things, question marks lead to a really in-depth knowledge center. And I have to say it's very in-depth, very useful. In addition to sort of binary analysis, we do more qualitative analysis. So here we're looking at vis-a-vis best practices based on a lot of testing, sort of what's a good length for description. So we're looking for word counts, we're looking for headlines, and we're describing what we're looking for and how to bring that into alignment with best practices. So if you're seeing reds, the platform is going to explain sort of why you're seeing the red and what you can do about it. We will surface keyword suggestions when they're available. At this moment, they're not available for this title. They're available for a lot of titles. We're partnered with Kadaxis, and I know it's millions of titles, or more than 1 million, I should say. So we're doing Amazon sales ranking categories. We have the question of where can you get the extension. Actually, a link to it was included in one of the emails that went out, but we will send it out again to everybody on this call. So it's a link. It's available for Chrome. Just to be clear, the extension works only in Chrome. The platform works in every browser. So price and availability, we look at these things in terms of determining our scores. We look at customer reviews. We look for an author presence. We're looking out in the web and social space. We're looking for things that are correlated with or causal of Amazon sales of books and ebooks. So that's a lot of the data sources that we look at. So we are definitely heavy on Goodreads. And we're going to tell you what these things are, what they mean, what to look for, and we'll tell you exactly what it is that we're looking at. So I had the question about sort of, can I go into more depth about the data and the data sources? What I can say there is, certainly could. It's a long webinar, but it's all basically in the help documentation. You can read about what each data point is. And we also surface competition, so we surface competing products. And these are products which are competing with this product for merchandising slots on Amazon. That's what this competition is. So it can very often be the own author's title. It could be other books in a series, but very often there are some really interesting and cool surprises. So the sign in to see more data, that is basically bringing you across to the platform. So the platform I'm going to show now is, as I say, this is the full web application. This works in any web browser. And the same sort of methodology of overview, on page, at retail, web and social, competition holds true throughout. So just think of that marketing funnel when in terms of people were asking sort of how do I think about this? Think marketing funnel. So to add a product, you do a search. You search for anything here. I'm not actually going to do that because I don't want to take up too much time.
Hey, Pete.
Yeah.
Pete, I just wanted to jump in. I like to think about the platform differences in two key ways here, and I know you're going to cover those. So when you showed us the extension, that was that moment in time for that book, but the platform's going to show us trending data. So over time, as you're tracking products, and I know you're going to jump into this, and also allow you to compare products in a list view. So I just wanted to make sure to clarify that before you got too far onto looking at specific titles there.
Yeah, that's very helpful. So yes, it's tracking over time, which is key because these scores change every hour, and they will tell you many things about how what you're doing is working. And then I'll show that list view, which I think is the most potent view, and really I think it's sort of the raison d'etre for the platform. When you perform a search, you get search results. You then view dashboard. That's the methodology right now for looking at and adding titles. The ones the titles I've added have this little tag on them. Those are what we would call tracked. So I'm tracking those. The other ones I've merely searched for. So I'm actually going to go into, I'm going to look at a book. So I'll look at the one that we were looking at and just touch on the platform view. So we're seeing those scores once again, and now we're seeing them trended over time. So we're seeing the OptiQly score, the brand authority, and the product authority trended over time. Now on the platform also we start to see insights and actions. So I think this is a very useful aspect of the platform. We've got great feedback on it, which is basically when that data gets crunched and we look at different cases. So, this data point's true, that data point's true, therefore this might be a good idea. We surface those. And they are definitely formed as suggestions. They're not like, some of them are strong suggestions. If we notice that the book doesn't have descriptive copy, for example, we're going to say add a description and give you best practices. But some of them are, a little less so. So, here, Thich Nhat Hanh, it looks like this author has a Wikipedia page. Make sure the book is listed on that page. So, in many ways, these are reminders, these are checklists, these are things to make sure you do. And we're surfacing competitive and comparable products throughout. Going up the funnel again, now in the platform view, on page becomes a very nice checklist. Really easy to visualize. There aren't any reds here, actually, but you would see red X's if you were doing something, if you were missing something. And again, we're going to surface the help. Here we are surfacing keywords. So there were keywords for this the last time that we checked. And so yes, we've had the question about sort of downloading and using the keywords. Right now, the platform allows for the copying and pasting of the keywords, so you can make a decision about which of these seem attractive to you, which ones you think will help you promote the book. We're suggesting here that you consider using them either in your descriptive copy, so consumer-facing, or in the off-page keywords field. So we're not being prescriptive there, but rather descriptive. You can copy, you can paste. We currently don't allow for any batch exporting of anything. It's definitely a feature that we've had requested, and we are speccing it and putting it on the roadmap. We will eventually allow for exporting of information, but right now we don't. In terms of at retail, we surface a lot of different things here. I love this chart, and I love the way we visualize this, where we will show you the retail price, the 25 bucks, and the price that the consumer paid. So here it's $15.55, charted with the Amazon sales rank over time. So this isn't the greatest example in the world, only because the price isn't very dynamic on this particular title, but as we all know, prices are very dynamic in Amazon. It's very interesting to watch what they're doing in response to your marketing activities and how it's affecting both the consumer price and rank and merchandising. So we're also surfacing insights and actions on each tab, as you can see. We're coming back with your sales rank. So we're doing overall. We're also doing your subcategories and talking to you a little bit about that with help. We're looking for author rank, categories, and overall. This is a test feature with Amazon right now, so we don't actually give it much weighting in our algorithm, but we are checking it. We make some category suggestions, more in terms of these could be categories either in terms of using keywords to influence in which category the book's showing, but you may also be thinking bisects and how can I map these down to bisects. But for us, they're really Amazon nodes, basically. We do search rank. So what we're looking for here is Amazon author search rank. We look for, if someone searches for Thich Nhat Hanh in Amazon, where does this SKU rank in search? And we're looking for 1 through 10 or 10 plus. So in this case, for Thich Nhat Hanh, this is clearly not one of his top searched for or bought products because it's 10 plus. Amazon product search rank, for this title match, it ranks just fine. It ranks great. This ISBN. So search rank. Consumer reviews over time, we do star rating, and we do the number of reviews. In terms of web and social, we look at Wikipedia page views. Again, just want to point out the insights and actions, where we're talking about here, we're talking about very few tweets or retweets. We're looking out in Goodreads, we're looking out in Facebook, and we're looking out in Twitter. We do get the question about adding other networks, and what I can tell you is immediately we are adding Google search and rank, and we are considering adding Instagram at this time, and we have some other networks on the roadmap, shuffling for prioritization depending on what exactly we're going to be doing. I'm not going to actually take time on competition right now. I think there's a great use case that Susan gives, which is around looking at competing products to get a sense of keywords that they might be using. But what I really want to talk about, I'll quickly go to insights and actions just to show you that if you wanted one rolled up scorecard, it's there. This is the power view, in my humble opinion, as I laugh at myself. So it's up here, my products, and this little sort of tag sale type tag is our icon for my products. I should say we get the question, so if there's titles I'm tracking, can I have other titles I'm tracking? So in other words, another list, and that is being built right now. So in other words, the ability to have Winter 2018 and backlist Buddhist titles and YA stuff that I'm running Facebook ads for. You could make 4 lists, 3 lists, whatever you wanted to do. You could also have a list of competitors who you want to keep an eye on, so other brands that might be fighting for share of voice, share of audience out there. So again, thinking of the score. Go ahead, Susan.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to jump in on one thing. We've gotten a couple of questions from folks about the difference between just viewing a title and tracking it. So I just wanted to clarify that you are able to view any dashboard when you search on a title or a term or an author. You can view the dashboard for that title. You'll see at the top of that page a prompt to track that title. Unless you'll only see that product on this list if you choose to track the title. So make sure that when you're looking at titles, if you're interested in the trending data, that you go ahead and track it, because we've definitely gotten a few questions on that.
Yeah, that's great, Susan. And I'll just show a couple things really quickly. So you can stop tracking products and view the dashboard from here. And I will take one moment just to do this because I think it's helpful for people. Just in terms of sort of the basics, how do I use the platform? I'll go to a product that I'm not tracking. And I'll show you that you will be prompted across the top that this says you're currently not tracking it. And when you're in the platform, sort of the platform is going to say, you want to track this. And you can say, yes, I do, or no, I don't. So to Susan's point, you can take a look at other products and glean some intel around them. You can look at any product. It's one nice thing. Get some keywords. If you were competing with this title, that would be kind of fun. So again, my products, the power view as far as I'm concerned. So these scores change, as I said, hourly. The data refreshes hourly, and the scores are rerun. Being able to sort by them, so we can sort by title, which is, I suppose, of some interest. Score is definitely of interest, so I can look at my low scores. I can look at my high scores. And most importantly, I can look at the scores in the various areas of the funnel. So what I can do is I can say to myself, I want to know where there's high web and social interest. So a lot of social, a lot of search, a lot of review activity, those kinds of things. These are all really nice scores. Here's one with a nice score. The retail is not quite as high as maybe I'd like to see. And the on-page score, again, that's, think on-page, at retail, web and social. Maybe I can do a thing or two to improve this. So this is a great prioritization tool. Here's an opportunity. It's doing well at retail. All the retail indicators that we've rolled up under the at retail score are strong. Web and social maybe not as strong as it could be. On page, not as strong as it could be. Someone asked a question, it's a good question. Does the OptiQly score, this is the wording of the question, correspond with sales performance at Amazon? So the question is, can I confidently say that a book with an OptiQly score of 85 is selling more books than a book with a score of 75? So the answer to the first question is yes, it corresponds. Sales performance over time, as denoted by overall bestseller rank and individual bestseller ranks, they're all weighted slightly differently. Individual category bestseller ranks, they're all weighted slightly differently in our algorithm, is a major contributor to the algorithm. So we want to see sales trends that are going up, and we have a pretty decent understanding of what a sales rank move means in terms of sales. However, we roll up a lot of different scores into the, a lot of different data points into the at retail score. The idea being, you know what your sales were yesterday, so we're not really that tool. More we're the tool of first response for, here's what's happening in Amazon right now. So the book is selling is certainly part of that at retail score. The other things are, and oh, by the way, the consumer reviews are strong and there are more of them and they're coming in faster and the star rating isn't going down. So that's what we're trying to roll up in at retail. So classic use case would be, I'm running a Facebook ad. The second I hit that Facebook ad, my web and social score is going to go through the roof, actually within an hour. At retail should go up shortly thereafter. Now, whether that's because people are reviewing the book, whether I've reminded them to review the book, or I've driven page views across that are converting or turning into wish lists or some sort of virtuous activity, and we're seeing that reflected in Amazon's activity for the book, that retail score is going to go up. So, you know, my use case for this is immediate. I don't want to wait 3 days, 2 days for that sales data from Amazon. And I don't want to across a list of, I know I'm tracking 39 titles. Let's say I'm working 39 titles as a marketer. I don't want to do a deep dive into my Facebook analytics, my Twitter analytics, and my ARA analytics, so on and so forth. So, you know, what I want to be able to do is assess what's happening and assess it quickly, determine if what I'm doing is working or not, and make the necessary changes. The other thing I want to do is I always want to make sure that that on-page score is high. Can't emphasize this enough before I make anything. The last thing I just want to talk about is web and social as an indicator of what's going to happen. So there are things that we do as marketers where we know we're going to run that Facebook campaign, and then we want to track it. I think one of the beautiful things about OptiQly is when you're tracking something, if consumers just begin to behave in ways that indicate that they're interested in your product, that web and social score is going to go up. You didn't necessarily do anything. It's just you come in and that score is higher than it was yesterday. To me, that points out, you know, okay, here's a time I can do something, whatever that may be. And And we have had the request for alerts. So tell me when my scores have changed, and that's on the roadmap as well. Lastly, we've had the request for the ability to upload titles in batches. So not one by one, but in bulk. And we will be building that into the platform and also supporting it as a company. So if you are engaging with us, and Susan can help you with that. So I know there are a few more questions, and I will probably answer those by email because I think we know who submitted them. Jess is nodding her head, so we're good. We will get to those questions, but I want to turn it back over to Susan now, if I may, if she's still there. Susan, did you get bored and leave, or are you still there?
I'm still here.
Okay, cool.
We'll stay on the line for a few more minutes. We're right at 11:30 right now, but we'll definitely stay on to answer more questions. We've gotten a lot of questions from our early users about pricing for the platform and how that will work. So I do want to cover that briefly, and then we can go back to the demo and cover a few more things. So the OptiQly subscription plans are available on a monthly or annual basis. There's definitely a generous discount for annual subscriptions if you choose to go that way. Pricing is based on the number of ISBNs that you're tracking. One of the things that you might have seen in Pete's list view is different editions of the same book being tracked because those behave differently, right? They have different price points, different sales ranks. And so it's really interesting to look at how different editions of products are doing compared to each other. So pricing is based on the number of tracked ISBNs. That's starting at 50 tracked titles. I think at a very reasonable cost of $150 a month or $149, going all the way up to 2,000 titles at $1,500 per month. You can take a look at this information here. I'm certainly available to answer any questions that you have about getting started. As Pete mentioned, we're definitely talking with some larger organizations who have more than 2,000 titles that they'd like to track about how that would work. And I can definitely talk to you offline about that. And the subscription pricing will begin as of September 1st. And we'll definitely send this information out. Okay, that's it for me. If anyone's got any questions, please go ahead and type them in the chat right now. And we'll stay on the line. And if you don't have any questions, I just want to say thank you for joining us today. And certainly thank you for being one of the early testers for OptiQly. As Pete said, and I'll just reemphasize, it's been extraordinarily helpful to have so many folks registering, tracking titles, giving us feedback, asking questions. We're really, it's really gratifying for our team of engineers to see, and for Pete, Jess, and I as well. So thanks very much.
Great. Thanks, Susan. Thanks, everyone else. I can see the count of people on the call, and there are still there's still 60 some odd or more. So I guess I will go back over to the demo, and I'll respond just as pulling up some more questions here. So I had a question around what we call the Amazon supported character set. So this is within OnPage. We will sometimes tell people, make sure you're using the Amazon supported character set. This is covered off in the help as to what this is. So you can see here what Amazon supports in terms of HTML code. And also there are some notes on what's not supported. And it's in-depth, and we've got links out to anything that we use in that definition. So
I can note that a number of titles will get an error in OptiQly for the supported character set. It's often due to div or span tags in the HTML markup for the description. It will often still appear correct on Amazon, in which case you're probably fine, but it's not strictly supported and could lead to display errors on different devices or in different browsers. So we do recommend removing those.
Yeah, it's definitely not a best practice to include the div and span tags for exactly the reason Jess says. But this help is always, and I'll show it to you on, I'll just go into, by the way, these books are not chosen for any reason other than I'm interested in them. If we were to show that, where you would be able to figure this out is right here. So read more about the insight and action, and when you do that, we will define what that insight and action is. So when the person who has a question around what does that mean, if you click on the plus sign in the help, it'll say, why am I seeing the insight? What should I do? So hopefully that's helpful. We had another question around the book description, and basically I'm right on that. How we do our qualitative analysis. So how do we determine if it's, quote, good or bad? So the determination is based on a lot of studies that we've done and that others have done, to which we've had access to the data, around what structural things need to be true to find a description being both as discoverable as possible and as converting as possible. So converting as many people to sale as it possibly can. And a few things about that, the quickest answer is length. So very often these are too short. And so this is one where we have thrown up the insight and action of consider using 150 words or more in the Amazon description. So that should give you some sense of how we're analyzing it. And we're also looking for things like paragraphs. So not one block of text that's under 150 characters, but rather more than 150 characters broken up into paragraphs. And we are certainly looking for some sort of bolded headline, which, a lot of studies, including our own, have shown convert in the aggregate at a higher rate than descriptions that lack that. And we'll show these as red, yellow, or green. So some of them, we're saying, you really want to do this, and some of them we're saying, consider doing it. In terms of other questions, we had one question around, is there any difference in the data depending on where the Amazon customers are coming from? The answer to that is no, not right now. We don't assess that. In terms of geography, in terms of from what source, so are they coming across from Facebook? Are they coming across from Wikipedia? We're inferring that and giving different weights to those various sources based on the likelihood of conversion from those consumer paths. We had a question around Amazon Marketing Services, AMS, and the effectiveness thereof. I can't speak to its effectiveness other than to say that for various of our clients and customers, we've seen it work, and we've seen it work less effectively. What I can say is that when meaning the platform, surfaces insights and actions, and we make a recommendation around running ads, which we do from time to time, or running price promotions, which we do from time to time, we will be as general or specific as we know makes sense based on the data point. So, for example, we know that the number of people who have shelved something as I want to read this on Goodreads is a very good indicator of the likelihood of success of a price promotion. So there we're going to say, a price promotion may be a good idea for this title. And in the knowledge base, we're going to talk about the places where people can run price promotions. Sometimes we'll get very specific and we'll say a Facebook ad targeting people who are interested in these topics is a good idea. Sometimes we're less so. So the point being AMS, whether it's AMS or whether it's, running search ads on Google, or whether it's running Facebook ads or a BookBub promo or a Goodreads price drop or a Goodreads pre-order campaign. A lot of these things, when we're specific, we mean to be. And when we're more general, we're saying, look, you're the marketer. You know your own data. We're saying that a paid promotion on a platform, something like this, might work. So hopefully that helps to clear that up.
We're also, Pete, we're also seeing use cases where you're able to test the efficacy of ads, right? So you know, if you take our advice and run a Facebook ad and you don't see your web and social score jump, then maybe that's time to reassess the content of the ad or where you've placed it or the target audience. So we've
Sure.
definitely seen publishers and marketers using the platform in just that way. So I just wanted to throw that in there.
Absolutely. So I think I've got time for one more. I'd like to close it. It's almost 11:45. I would like to close. So Jess is giving me the thumbs up that the other questions that have come in will be well suited to email. So we will go ahead and respond to those. And for anyone who's passed through any feature ideas, so not questions but feature ideas, we heard you, and we will get back to you on those and consider them for the roadmap. And hopefully the webinar experience was a good one. You know, we did the best we could. It was a large group for a webinar, so but hopefully the experience was good. And again, we really appreciate you all taking the time and for kicking the tires on the platform. Please continue to do so. And we're here, so you know, email us, let us know. And yeah, welcome and enjoy. Thanks.